Hello everybody, my name is Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. So today I'm going to do my June wrap up. I know June has been weird posting video wise, been all over the place. I've done like 2 videos in 1 week and then no videos. It's been weird, but I'm filming a wrap up now and it's actually going to come out at a decent time, so that's going to be fun. And I read loads of beautiful gay books in June. I mean, I read gay books all the time, but they were pretty much exclusively queer in June and I had a great time with them, so I'm just going to drive straight in and tell you about all the books I read in June. Let's hope this isn't a 2-part wrap up because you know how I love to do that apparently. So the first book I read in June was How It All Blew Up by Arvin Armadi. I think I've said that correctly, but you never really know. So this is about a boy who's being threatened and blackmailed to be outed at his high school graduation, and he's trying to avoid this at all costs because his parents are very religious and Muslim and he's pretty sure that they're not gonna be cool with it. So when he gets the blackmail and the threat to be outed, he ends up panicking and running away to the airport and just getting on a plane, and he ends up in Rome where he is hiding from the situation and hoping it's kind of gonna all blow over and sort itself out, but ends up building a new life for himself in Rome. And it's about him living in another culture, finding acceptance in a community of other gay people, and living his life very independently and ignoring the issues that he's run away from, and then subsequently being interviewed in an interrogation room because racism. I read this one while I was on holiday and it was the perfect summer holiday read. This book was really fun. I sped through it so quickly. My favourite part was the setting being in Rome. I really felt like the book captured culture, the vibe, spirit of the city in Rome. I've been to Rome before and I really felt like the book had the exact energy that I remember. So I really felt immersed in the location and it really felt like I was there, and I really enjoyed the laid back Italian culture vibes because I love that. It was really fun to watch our main character live a chilled back party lifestyle as a bachelor in a gay community in Italy. Really fun to witness, and yeah, I just sped through it and really enjoyed it. I also love the gay community that he finds in Italy and the group of men who take him in and adopt him, and I love that sense of acceptance and belonging, the chill queer vibes. It's great when you find a place where you belong and where you can be yourself, relax and be who you are and have a fun time. Not everywhere is high school America, and it's fun to have that culture and that vibe. I really like the theme of acceptance, and being where you belong doesn't just happen. Sometimes you have to go out and look for it and you have to find it, and found family and all that kind of stuff. Love all those tropes. That was a really nice part of the book, that he found a place where he could be himself and he could live the high life. The group of brave friends he meets are definitely far from perfect. They are flawed and they have their own issues. They're definitely flawed human beings, but it's nice because it seemed real. That's how people are. You can find an accepting, amazing group of people to belong with, but no one's perfect, and it doesn't really glorify the gay community as perfect people, which is good. There's always somewhere you can go out there where you'll find where you belong and acceptance, and you should go looking for it if you haven't found it. So yeah, I really enjoyed the book. Super quick, super chill and fun to read. Although now that it's been like a good month later, or just less than a month, I'm starting to think about, there are a few issues that are cropping up now that I'm trying to remember comments to say about the book. I enjoyed it much more when I was reading it than I do in retrospect. I'm now seeing a lot of flaws and issues that I didn't notice at the time of reading it. It is a little weird that a group of grown-ass men are taking in this adolescent stranger boy from America. That would be totally chill. There is nothing wrong with that. But as soon as you include sexual experiences into the mix, it comes a little, you know, I wouldn't say anyone takes advantage of him, but it's a little maybe not, you know? There is a love interest that is about the main character's age, and I wish they'd have done more with that. They didn't really finish that plot line, I suppose, and I wish that had been more of the focus of the sexual escapades rather than the grown-ass men. Just a thought. Another issue, which is a pattern that's cropping up, and I'm seeing it in a lot of places now, and it's starting to really piss me off. I'm not even the person who deserves to be pissed off, but that is, this book is marketed, as I was checking it on Goodreads, this book is marketed as a Muslim YA book. And there is none of that in there. Our main character is Iranian, his parents are Muslims, but he himself don't think he's a Muslim, or at least he does nothing to indicate such a faith. There is no prayer, there is no evidence of these characters being Muslims or having practices that would indicate that they are Muslim. And it's fine, I didn't go into this book for the religious aspect, it's not even part of it, but that's the point, it's not a part of it. So why is it marketed as Muslim YA fiction? There's something really dodgy with that. It's like Muslim baiting, essentially. You're trying to promote a thing and then either do the thing badly or not do the thing at all. why would you bother? Why not market it as just a queer contemporary story? Because that's what it is. So either don't market it with the Muslim thing, or if you do, make sure the Muslim thing is in it. I can't imagine being a Muslim teen and seeing all of these books promoted to me and something I want to be reading about, something I could relate to, only to never see it, or if I do see it, it be done poorly. That's icky. And it is a pattern I'm seeing everywhere. It happened in Yes, No, Maybe So. Well, it was present in that book. At least it was in the book. At least there was a good attempt at the Muslim fiction part. But why is this a trend that we're promoting, we're marketing for a thing to get sales and to get brownie points, but then not have the thing? I don't like that. And I don't know if that's the author's fault. That may be a marketing issue. That may be an issue within the publication industry itself rather than specifically this author. It's something I wanted to mention because it's relevant and it's getting on my tits. And I'm not a Muslim, so if I'm finding that annoying to see, then I'm really sorry to the Muslim community for putting up with that shit. It's just not fair and it's not right. And I was just trying to think of more things to say about the book because I only come up with, oh, I kind of like the chill Rome vibes. And that was all I could really think about or remember. Less than a month later, I've forgotten all of the characters' names and they all kind of merge into one. They're like one group of guys and I kind of barely remember which one's which. And I don't really remember much of anything. So the characters are extremely forgettable and the plot's kind of, it's cool, but it's not outstanding or memorable or revolutionary in any way. And a lot of the reviews and again, the marketing were this outstanding queer story. It was promoted as something grand and epiphany inducing and it's just not. It's chill, it's laid back, it's fun, but it's not groundbreaking in any way and it's very forgettable. The writing is very meh, fine, it does the job. That's it. It's a fun read to read at the time, but it's not, I'm not going to be raving about it. In a year I'm barely going to remember any of it happened. It was fun at the time. That was good, but it's not one to remember. My only other comment about the book is the writing style and the format. It was set up as in like they were being interrogated at the airport because they were pulled off the plane because, you know, Muslims arguing on a plane, they must be terrorists. So a lot of the format of the book is him talking from the interrogation room and like retelling the story of how it all happened. And I just don't think that worked. The interrogation monologue passages just didn't do anything for me. I don't think they added anything to the story and they kind of interrupted the flow of the story and the narrative and they didn't do anything. They were the most boring parts of the book. I don't need that bit. Just tell the story chronologically and then at the end when they got pulled off the plane, that would have been a surprise. It would have been an almost plot shock end of the book because we know from the very start of the novel that he's in the interrogation room and he got pulled off the plane and you kind of already know that, so it's useless to get to that point because you know that's where it's going and it's not a surprise how he gets there. The whole interrogation thing I think was just a bit of a useless narrative and device that didn't really do anything. I'd rather the story had just been written chronologically as is, not had those boring monologue passages from the different members of the family. It was unnecessary to the story. I just wanted to skip those bits and I never want to skip bits in books. A fun, chill back read, but nothing to write home about. Next up, I also read this on holiday because I read 3 books on holiday, which is amazing because I was only there for a week. Really knocked a few out in that week. And I read No, I Can't Even by Simon James Green. Now, this is a book that I picked up because I'd heard good things. I know Kaz read it and liked it, I think. And I know that Connor loved this book. That's Kaz from Cats and Camera and Connor from Connor's Library Corner. In case you're new here, I'm really sorry, Connor. It wasn't for me. So No, I Can't Even is about a British teen who is super socially awkward and absolutely useless in social situations. His mum is a terrible Beyonce tribute act, embarrassing. His father left them years ago and he's still trying to live down the lie of telling everyone he was kidnapped by pirates. That was a mistake. And he thinks if he can get with a girl, this girl he likes called Sophie, who's perfectly lovely and reasonable and smart, if he can get with her, then his social life will be infinitely better and he will go up the social chain of school. And at the party where he's planning to kiss Sophie, his best friend Harry, and his only friend, kisses him. And that throws him for a loop because he realises his best friend is gay and likes him, and is he gay? How's he gonna deal with this situation? Badly is the answer. So this book is supposed to be a hilarious, funny British comedy and it's British. The one thing I can give this book is it's so British, and that's one of the things I did enjoy about about the book. It's very, as a Brit myself, I feel the vibe. I feel like couldn't be more British if it tried. The references, the culture, partway links Africa, solving all teenage boys' problems when it comes to girls. The tea, crisps and biscuit debates. It's just so unbelievably British, and I love that about it, because I love books set in Blighty. There's only so much Americanism I can take sometimes. And it's nice to have books set in home, something I can relate to and feels like it's where I live, it is my culture, it is my world. We love that for us. And that's about as much good as I can say about it. Unfortunately, the humour didn't land for me. It was not my thing. It's my own bloody fault. The book is promoted as super awkward hilarity, and oh my god, it was so cringy. It was so painfully cringy to read that I'm sure other people, including maybe you, Connor, find that hilarious, but I could not. Forget Noah could never, Lucy could never. My logical brain couldn't deal with Noah and his stupidity. There's this one scene where Noah's trying to make a cup of tea. It is the most disastrous scene I've ever read in my life. It felt like a horror movie where it's actually grotesque to read, but you can't stop reading it, and it was awful, and I hated that scene because it made me internally... And I'm not even a tea person, but it made me hurt somewhere inside. Basically, he makes the worst cup of tea in the history of tea, in the history of the kitchen. I didn't find it funny though. I found it sad, and what? How can it go so wrong? How? The whole book felt very clownish, cartoony, and very exaggeratedly, stupidly bad. Noah throughout the whole book felt so clownish and stupid. Just a complete idiot. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. That's probably someone's humour, but it didn't really work for me. Cringy to read, so it wasn't my vibe. Noah's supposed to be 15, but he reads more like 10-year-old at most because he's so immature and stupid. He can't refer to sex. He only calls it bow chicka wow wow. Literally every single time he mentions it, he uses bow chicka wow wow, and after my 5th time of reading bow chicka wow wow, I was really over it. It just read really young. I mean, I know I'm reading YA, and I'm not exactly a YA. I'm not a teenager. I am 26 this year, so I'm not a teen, but even for a 15-year-old, it read really young and naive and silly, and it felt like it could be a middle grade. Even though there's talk of sex and kissing, it still read really young. It's sad because I thought I'd really enjoy this book because of the whole best friend being gay, kisses him, the moral dilemma of, oh no, am I gay? Noah trying to figure out his own sexuality and how he could continue to be friends with his best friend after that, and do they take the romantic route or do they go platonic? I really thought that was going to be really fun, but that's not really where the book goes. That's supposed to be the plot, but it feels kind of like a footnote. Noah's running around dealing with people blackmailing him and getting himself out of these crazy shenanigans and trying to lie his way out of situations and only making it worse. And Noah's just running around town like a big old clown trying to disastrously fix and not fix all of his problems. But we don't get as much with Harry as I wanted. We don't get Noah come to any conclusion about who he is and how he feels. You kind of do, but it was not what I was looking for in the story. I guess I was looking for the wrong thing of this book. Just really didn't do it for me, I'm afraid, and I'm sorry, Connor. And the only other thing I want to talk about is Noah's mum. First of all, I hated her. I think you're supposed to. She's supposed to be, we don't like her. The blurb of the book makes it sound like mum's a Beyonce tribute act. Embarrassing much, you know, for a teenager. But the mum is not embarrassing. She's neglectful and abusive. She's gross. The mother was so awful, and I don't really think the book gives it the weight that it deserves. But I was reading some of the things the mother did, and I was like, that's child abuse. That's not cool. That's not okay. The mother is horrific, and Noah's, you know, complaining about it and all that stuff, and it's never stated in the book, hey, maybe that's not normal. Maybe that's not what you should expect from parents. And it was uncomfortable for me to read because I really wanted that to have some kind of conclusion. I wanted at some point Noah to talk to an adult figure and then to be like, that's how your mother treats you. And and then the realization or someone coming intervening, and he's only got a single parent, he's only got his mother. Yeah, it was a bit gross and I was a bit uncomfortable, and if the book could have made it clear that that's not okay and that someone could have intervened, I feel that that could have been a really good plot point. But of course that's not where it went. This book is in funny haha land, not in serious land. So it's just like, oh mum, locking me a room in and not feeding me, what are you gonna do? So I've forgotten a lot of the book now. I think I've erased from my memory, but there was a lot of instances that I will not go into that the mother was gross and I didn't like it at all. I'm pretty sure she's supposed to be kind of the bad guy. She's supposed to be the crux of Noah's life, but like I said, that needed to have more weight and a slight serious touch of, hey, that's not okay, for that to be in the book. Otherwise, I don't like it to be in there flippantly. Book didn't quite do it for me, I'm afraid. I didn't really find it that funny. I just found it cringy and weird, and it just wasn't for me. Get your pitchforks out, come for me, it's fine. I'm not giving up on Simon James Green or anything. Let's move on from that one. Next up, I read Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez, and I really enjoyed this book. I absolutely loved this one. Again, this was the last book I read while I was on my holiday, and I had so much fun with this one. It was a while ago since I read it, so I'm trying to remember the details. I haven't written a review up on Goodreads of this one yet, so my review might be a bit all over the place. We'll see how it goes. For How It All Blew Up and Noah Can't Even, I've made reviews of them on Goodreads, so you can go check those out. Although I don't know if I've posted the Noah one. I will after I film this. So Perfect on Paper is about a girl called Darcy who's in like a preparatory high school or something, again America, and she runs Locker 89, which is a locker in the school that is never given out to a student. It's like an empty, no use locker, but everyone in the school knows that if you put a letter and some money into the locker and ask for advice on your relationship and any kind of romantic advice, the locker will respond to you with its answer, and it very rarely steers you wrong. But of course Darcy is behind this locker and she runs Locker 89, and she is extremely interested in relationships and psychology and advice and romance and all of that stuff. It's like her extreme passion. She does immense research on the topics and she knows all of the relationship classifications and the different need types and love languages and the psychologies behind, and she knows a lot of the almost professional sounding advice, and she follows all the YouTubers and all the psychologists who talk about relationships and how best to deal with situations. This is her passion, it's what she loves, and she loves helping people. She loves seeing other people fall in love and deal with their relationships in a healthy manner. It's what she loves to do, but it's her big secret because she can't really tell anyone she runs it. One, she would lose the anonymity and the mystery factor of the locker. B, if advice didn't go very well, people would blame her and people might be more embarrassed to go to her when the locker is very inconspicuous. Also, is it quite legal to take money for advice on school property? Probably not. Also, her best friend Brooke, who she's in love with because she's bisexual, the best friend she has a crush on, she gave some really bad advice in the past, and Brooke hates the locker. So if she reveals her secret even to her best friend slash crush, that Brooke's gonna hate her because of what she did. So when one of the boys at school catches her in the act of opening and taking out the letters from the locker, he sort of kind of maybe blackmails her into helping him. He pays her an hourly rate of a personal coaching service so that she can help him get his ex-girlfriend back, because that's what he wants. And so Darcy has no real choice but to accept the deal and try and help him. And I really love this story. First of all, I love the main character Darcy. I really loved her and felt like I related to her a lot of the time. The way she had this passion and she like did all the research and she was so into this locker. I just really felt that. That's how I behave with my passions. I tend to go so in depth and I get really excited and I do all the research possible, and I mean, you know what I'm like. And I feel like Darcy was quite like that too, and she was very, you know, level-headed and logical. She always liked finding the way around the problem, and I don't know, I just really liked her character. I really felt like I was in her shoes and I felt for her, and I really enjoyed the problem of the locker, her not being able to tell anyone and trying to get this guy's girlfriend back. It was just a really cute story. I mean, I've read a lot of romances recently in this summer, and romance and contemporary aren't really my genres, but 2021 was the year of the romance apparently. But this one is like one of those romances I can get behind because it's not too lovey-dovey. It's more the logical side of romance. I don't even know if that's a thing. But But she takes romance and love and tries to bottle it into a science and a method. And I'm just like, yeah, that's how my brain works too. I take things like art and I try and logic them out and I try and figure out the science behind it, you know, like writing or art, any art form or painting. I try and whittle them down into their most scientific, logical steps. And so you get the best of both worlds. You get the airy-fairy art and love, but also logic and science. Anyway, that's a really rambly way of saying I really relate to the main character. And the book was just a journey. A lot. So much happened, loads of drama going on. There was who loves who, people changing minds and all sorts of things going on. I loved the fact our main character was bi. We loved the bi rep. It talked about things like biphobia and her feeling like even though she's bi, she should probably go out with a girl, because if she goes out with a guy then she just looks straight and she won't be taken seriously as a queer person. And that's a whole discussion, and it was really perfectly put in this story the way she felt about that. In the book, another thing I really liked was she went to this LGBT club after school, the Queer and Questioning Club, I think it was called. Yeah, the Q&Q Club. There was a bunch of different queer characters in this group that I really loved to see. We had gay characters, lesbian characters, bi characters, trans characters, non-binary characters. There was all sorts of characters, and they all felt like they were given their own personalities and their own lives, and their sexualities and genders didn't make their entire personality. It was so perfect to read, because I love it when queerness is in books, but sometimes I feel like it takes over and they become only the thing, only the sexuality, or they become only the gender they're trying to be and not a human. Darcy, our main character, her sister is a trans woman, and I really like that as well. Again, it was great to have this trans, very central character, but very rarely did you think of her as, oh, she's trans. She was just the sister. She had her own YouTube channel where she did fashion. She was really good at reupholstering clothes. She learned when she was transitioning and she was trying to make clothes fit her better, because clothes couldn't really get at the stores she was buying. So her sister had a YouTube thing going on, and I felt like that was very real to the modern world. And I felt like Ainsley, that was the character's name, Ainsley was really cool and real, and I loved her. I thought she was really great. I also loved the dynamic between Darcy and Bro. I think his name was Broham or Broham. It was an Australian name, so it doesn't have an American sound, more of like a British or Australian kind of pronunciation. His name was Alexandra Broham. I love the interaction between those two characters. I think they had a really cool dynamic going on, and I love how their friendship grew as the story progressed and they got to know each other better. They went from, it wasn't like enemies to lovers or enemies to friends, because Alex didn't realise he was the enemy. Only Darcy thought that, so that was interesting. The climax of the story was so dramatic and horrible, and I loved it. Like, horrible in a good way, because it all blew up and it was unavoidable, and she tried to rectify and fix the mistake, but she was in such a dark hole. In fact, it got to a point where I was getting a bit angry at the book, because I was like, okay, you've like thoroughly destroyed the girl's life, like, do we have to keep going? Like, I was so sad for the main character. Her life was fucked, and it was so upsetting to see it go so far, and it was horrible. But unlike a lot of books where the characters, they fuck shit up themselves and it was their fault, yeah, Darcy could have and should have done some things differently, but she never made any like stupid errors. She was always trying her best and trying to fix things, and she made mistakes. Yeah, Darcy was by far a perfect character, and she'd made selfish decisions in the past and in the present. I just loved the book. I thought all the characters were likable but flawed and realistic. I love all the representation in the story of the queer community, and it was a really fun, cool ride. And I love the examining of relationships and how to deal with liking people, all of the things. I really enjoyed that. It was my kind of story. It was a story I really enjoyed and had so much fun with. And of all the books I read on holiday, I saved the best till last. I didn't even think I was going to get to that one while I was on holiday. I brought the book I was reading, nowhere if I finished that book, and I thought, oh, I probably won't get to a third, but I'll bring one anyway. And I'm so glad I brought the third one. The fourth book of June was It's Not Like It's a Secret by Misa Seguria. Now, you might recognise that author's name, although I've said it really differently and weird to how I said it last time, but I think I'm getting better at saying the name. Last month I read This Time Will Be Different by Misa Seguria, and I loved it. It was a brilliant story. I absolutely loved it, and Misa is such a great author. I thoroughly enjoyed that book. If you haven't watched that wrap up, you can go watch that to know the first book I read. Misa's great. I love her writing. I love her books. This is solidified in my mind now. I probably preferred This Time Will Be Different over. It's not like it's a secret. Maybe. Yeah, no, I did. So this one was about Sona. She is a half Japanese, half American girl who grew up in, I think it was Wisconsin. So when her family has to move to California for her dad's work, she feels a bit betrayed that her whole life is just gonna be uprooted. But when she gets there, she discovers that California is a lot better than Wisconsin in a lot of ways, because there's a lot more in the terms of ethnic people, whereas in Wisconsin she was very the only Asian and the only person of colour where she used to live. Now she's in California and there's people of colour everywhere, and she feels more like she fits in. Finds Asian friends never had before, and they get to talk about Asian mum life and just share experiences and culture things that she's never been able to do before. And also she finds Jamie Ramirez, a Mexican girl at school who she falls head over heels for. So this story is a female-female romance between Sona and Jamie, and Sona's trying to deal with getting the girl and also coming to terms with the fact that, is her dad having an affair, and does she really want to find out the answer? I really enjoyed this book. I do have an issue with it, we will get to that, but at the beginning of the book especially, the first 2/3 of this book I was loving. It's really fun, it's super cute and sugary sweet, it's very cheesy, which isn't usually my jam, but you know, it's summer, so I've got the summer cute vibes, and the female-female romance I was digging, so it was cool. I really love how Misa talks about race and Asian American perspective. There was a lot of Japanese folklore and stories from her childhood that I found really fun. The story of the sea dragon and how her dad used to bring her this frozen custard, and it felt nostalgic, and in a way that's weird because I've never been told those stories or I never had that experience, but there's a way that Misa Suguruya writes that makes everything feel relatable and nostalgic in a way. I don't know, that doesn't really make sense now I'm saying it out loud. I really love Jamie as the main love interest. She was pretty swoon-worthy. I really like her as a character, and I would fall for her too, to be honest. Sona and Jamie were pretty cute together, and you do really root for them as a couple. Then you've got the whole dad having an affair plot, which added a more serious tone. There was a lot of familial relationships as well as the romantic ones. Misa is really good at doing the romance, but also she does the friendships and the family well. There's always that triplicate, and I really like that about Suguruya's writing. Suguruya's writing is very immersive. You always feel like you're fully there and along for the ride and all the drama and everything that happens. I love the representation both in queer and in race. There's definitely elements of racism that come up when it comes to Asians and also when it comes to Mexicans because of Jamie and her friends and family. I do think that Misa really likes to play on the stereotypes as them being true and not true. I find that interesting how she plays with racism. I think it's a very delicate balance she's treading, and sometimes she does go very stereotypical, but sometimes as well that is life, and Sona definitely, even though she's Asian, she makes racist remarks that aren't cool. I think it's interesting how Misa does that very realistically. I love how we have the queer and we have the diverse in race, but also none of it is based on queer trauma. There's nothing super horrific or triggering in that content. It's nice just to see a couple being happy, and any of the problems that they do face in the relationship aren't because of queerness. It's not a story about being outed, or it's not a story about your parents disowning you or about discrimination in that sense, and it's nice to have that sometimes. Not every queer story has to be queer trauma and about the gay struggle and the extreme that some queer people have to face. Sometimes it's nice just to have a cute romance. Like I said, any problems they do have in the relationship are their own damn fault and nothing to do with being gay at all. Of course, elements of that do come up with Sona and her mother growing up in Japan, so her mother not exactly being the most open, and she doesn't think her mother will be the most accepting. But yeah, the first 2/3 of the book I was really enjoying. But then Sona, so the bit that bugs me is, you know how I love it or I don't love it when main characters make dumbass decisions. Well, introducing Sona, because the last third of this book, Sona makes some mistakes. She makes some boo-boos, she fuck it up, and it's like, ooh yeah, tricky situation there, Sona, how are you gonna deal with this? Oh, make it worse? Okay, well, how are you gonna get, okay, make it even more worse? Okay, you're gonna dig a hole so deep you'll never be able to crawl out? No, you moron! I'm making light of it now, but at the time it was very frustrating to read. So Sona makes these mistakes and they're very easily fixable, and she doesn't, and she makes it worse, and it's so irritating to read a character be so stupid and make so many stupid decisions that are obviously going to come back to bite her in the arse. And it was so annoying to witness, and it got to a point in the book where I was reading it and I was like, I can't feel sorry for you anymore. This is your own fault. And when everything blows up in her entire face, as it should, I can't feel sorry for you, Sona, because you've done all of this. All of this is your fault. You had had so many points where you could have turned it around, where you could have remedied or rectified some of it, and you didn't, and that makes it so much worse. And yeah, I want flawed main characters and I want characters that are flawed, but not that flawed. And if you don't like the miscommunication trope, hello, it's a secret, because that is this in a nutshell. Someone makes these mistakes, and instead of being like, oh yeah, I kind of did this, she has the biggest communication issue ever. There's so many situations where she's got to tell someone something, and then, oh, the words just stick in my throat, and I don't, and then I won't tell them ever. So you realise if you don't tell this person this thing, it's only going to get worse, and then if you don't tell this person this thing, it's only going to get worse, and then if you lie to this about this, and then if you leave this on, then that's going to get worse. No person is that bad at speaking to people. Or at least no good person. You think your father's having an affair, and then you go ahead and do the exact thing. Hypocrite. I'm probably not making sense anymore. Long story short, that was really upsetting because I was really enjoying the book, and then I lost all motivation. I stopped rooting for the main character because I was like, no, now you're just being a dumbass, and I can't even feel sorry for you when your entire life hits the fan and shit goes everywhere. I can't even feel sorry for you, and it was annoying. Jamie, the love interest, and other characters, and I was like, nope, that was all your fault. They're all angry at you, and so am I. Luckily, the last part of the book did remedy it a bit. It did improve. I liked the way it ended. She managed to kind of claw her way out, and the way she rectified it was quite cool. It was still a sore point of the book. It definitely took a few brownie points and maybe a star off the story, which is annoying, but that's the way it goes. And also, the other part about the ending, I really loved the ending because of how the family thing happened and how the situation with her father was resolved. It was almost like a plot twist when it comes to her dad, and that whole situation and story was so cool. I didn't see it coming, and I found that fascinating and really cool and complex, interesting. Sonna's parents are really great characters in the book. I loved the way that all turned out. Obviously I can't say anything because spoilers. I really think that helped salvage a lot of the ending, because when it was focusing on the family father side of things, it could distract me from the romance and Sonna being a dick kind of thing. Really enjoyed it. It did have a problem, a bump in the road that we didn't enjoy. It definitely took a star off its rating and a chunk of my enjoyment out during that part of the book, but I still think Misa Suguri is a great author, and if she releases anything else, I will be reading it. And the last book I read in June, or reading shall I say, because I haven't finished it, and that was If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm about halfway, so I don't really want to say anything yet because I don't know how it's going to go, and as you know, I like to wrap it up as a whole rather than give my half-baked thoughts. But this one is about a trans girl who is at a new school, and she's now living with her father, who previously hasn't accepted her trans ways, and she's at a new school where nobody knows that she used to be a boy, that her name used to be Alex instead of Amanda, and she's starting to have feelings for a guy she likes, but of course it's very complicated and she can't really reveal her feelings because she will also reveal herself as a trans person. She doesn't want to lead them into something they would hate or be uncomfortable with, and she doesn't want to reveal her secret because life is so good with everyone treating her as the girl she is, and if everyone knows her secret, she knows that it's not going to be like that, and there's going to be discrimination and all of that jazz as it used to be at her old school. And I won't say any more until I've finished the book, but I am enjoying it so far, and it's taking me about a millennia to finish. Not because of the book, but because I have no time apparently. So I might do the wrap up for that in my July wrap up, or maybe in one of the videos in between I might mention it. We'll see. And those are the 5 books I read in June. Yes, I read 3 books on holiday in a week, and then 2 books the other 2 weeks. Now, that's decent. There were so many queer books I wanted to get to in June that I didn't get to, but that just means I'll have to read them all year round, which is what I was planning on doing anyway. So it all works out really, doesn't it? I didn't really get to do any queer or LGBT themed videos this month, which is a bit of a bum. I've just been working so much. My social life has also skyrocketed now that I leave the house and stuff. Things are still all over the place, including every brain cell I own. Sorry if I'm a bit more sporadic. It is what it is. Thank you so much for watching this video. Also, I'm a little bit more sporadic because the last video I posted, I lost 2 subscribers when I posted it, and that made me feel so sad that I didn't want to film again, which is one of the reasons why last week you didn't get a video, because I thought I'm just gonna lose more. So self-conscious, but I mean, I don't think it was to do with that video specifically. I don't know. Who really knows? Who really cares? Well, I care. Yeah, that was in the back of my head. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Please validate me and my feelings. We enjoy that in my life. And please don't unsubscribe. I'm not even going to ask for new subscribers this week. I'm just going to tell the ones I have to stay. Thank you for watching. I love you all very, very much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.